Hello and welcome to Stroke by Stroke. Today I thought I would take the image I made in the last video, which was really just me moving paint around as I talked. So I did colors and things that made me happy, but I haven't done anything with it since, and I thought it might be kind of fun to explore how to take an existing an existing image that you may or may not be so thrilled with and turn it into something. So I have added to my palette here, the palette is Core, Q-O-R, watercolors, and I added my M-Gram, these are the Core, and my M-Gram titanium white gouache. So I'm going to turn this into, I think, some kind of landscape. And I'm going to do most of it probably with gouache. And I might bring out some pens as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started here. And I'm going to do wet on dry because I just did wet on wet in the last video just to get colors on here and watch things move. And now I'm going to come in here with white, and I'll do probably, since I'm using white, it would probably work if I did like some kind of winter scene or something. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm following lines that I already had. And I'm just going to put in, and let's see here. I think let's leave some space maybe for a creek in here. So just gonna lay this in, and let's see here. And of course I'm making this up as I go, and so I can change anything I want about all this. And I may or may not leave the paint or the creek in there, we'll see. And one of the things that I really like about this gouache is I can use it so that it's semi-transparent or completely opaque, depending on how thick I make it. And so I'm adding a little bit of water, and I'm just going to lay in the white. About like that. Just for now, gives me an idea of what I want to do. And now I'm going to come in with some of my Core watercolor, and I'm just gonna lay in a little bit of color. Probably isn't showing very much, and that's okay. And when I'm doing shadows in a wintry scene, blue is the right color, because shadows, particularly on snow, are going to be more in the blue range. So yeah, I'm just adding suggestions. And so wherever I'm putting the blue, that's actually in shadow. So there. So I have that added in. And I'm going to go ahead and put in some suggestions of pine trees, evergreens of some sort. So I'll come in here and just lay in some tree trunks. And I am using my size 12, so the biggest round brush I have. I'm probably going to change it here in a little bit to something a little bit smaller, but just to get started. Okay. And there goes Walter, my furnace. The joys of living with an ancient trailer. Always so much fun. Oh, that's going to be a great big fat tree, I guess. Okay. So there's that. Now I'm going to move over to a smaller brush. I'll do, this one is a size 7. And I'm just going to come in here and just put in a suggestion of where I might want some branches and how big I might want it to be. Let's just go off the edge here. That's okay. There's so many different ways to paint an evergreen tree, or evergray, depending on your mood, I guess. Yeah. And yes, I'm going across where I had put tree trunks before, and well, that's okay. This is a fantasy image anyway, so I'm just playing at this point. And yeah, let's come in here to this guy. Got a little crazy there. It's all right. And as always, my paintings are more about the process than the end product. But, you know, making a nice end product, that's a fun thing to do, so yeah. But the process of painting, it's that bilateral stimulation that helps reset your central nervous system. And this is more lateral than bilateral, but still just the movement of moving my hand back and forth, making these strokes. That in and of itself is one of the most beautiful therapeutic aspects of making art. Because movement, not being static, helps to shift an emotion. Because I know for me, and I think for lots of people, if I am feeling depressed, I want to just stop. I just want to be still. I want to get in bed and put the covers over my head and just everything go away. And so sitting up, not lying down, talking, doing the videos, doing something that is using my brain in a different way. All of this is very good. So if you find yourself dealing with, particularly a negative emotion, this is a good way to maybe have a little bit of fun. And if you're in the middle of depression, you may not be able to access much fun in your life. I know that's true for me. But still, the action itself is going to be helpful. So now I'm just putting more on my grounds here, because I guess I don't want that tree that I was going to put in there. And by adding water to the gouache, you can do kind of a glazing effect. Oh, I'm so glad that Walter is done for a moment. You might be able to hear my wind chimes too. The wind is blowing. We are probably going to get some snow here where I live fairly soon. Probably tomorrow. But the wind is blowing, and that always makes my joints really hurt. Because, I've talked about my stroke, I've talked about having APS, I've talked about having COVID, going into long COVID. Well, I haven't talked about how the fact that COVID did attack my joints, and it took existing arthritis and accelerated it very much, to the point where I had, let's see here, I think it was in October of 2022, I had my left knee replaced. In January of 2023, I had my right knee replaced. In July of 2023, I had a, what do you call it? There's the aphasia. I wondered if it was going to show up today. Fusion on some bones in my foot and ankle. And then once it healed up enough, because I was not able to put any weight whatsoever on my right ankle after the fusion, and that was about 8 weeks. So that was pretty hellacious. So once I healed up enough from that, in November of 2023, I had my right ankle replaced. So, yeah. And so whenever the wind is blowing, that means that your weather's changing. And those of us who deal with chronic pain are going to have a hard time. So that's another reason that I do art, is it helps me think about something other than the fact that my body really doesn't like me right now. And so, yeah. So I paint. And it helps me. Not all the time. Sometimes I hurt too much to paint. But I actually try and make myself do it even if I'm not feeling so good. Because ultimately it will help. So there we go. Alright. Yeah, I'm going to do a very light wash across this area, because I do want to put a little bit of water, the feeling of water here. So okay. And these, I'm just doing some shadows. No, do a little bit over here, because yeah, there'll be some shadows here too. And everything I'm doing very, very lightly, because I just want to have a feeling of a dreamy kind of picture. So, and I'm gonna mix. I am mixing a little gouache and a little of the paint itself. I'm getting rid of the cat hair. And I'm just on this side, on the left side of my trees, I'm just gonna add just a little bit of shadow. And that's something I talk about, following the rules of the world you're making in a picture. And so where is the light coming from? And in my situation here, the light is coming this direction. Okay, so okay, now I'm coming back into the blue, and I'm going to add like real shadows. And this would be maybe the edge of the riverbank or creek. This isn't anything big, really. Okay. And then I'll add a little bit over here too. And really, you're just creating illusions is what you're doing at this kind of painting. Now, if I was trying to be super realistic, I wouldn't be working so loosely and I would be taking my time. But that's not my goal here today. My goal here today is just to make something out of nothing, in a way. And one thing that helps shadows is contrast. So if I have light come in here, that will help define where my shadows are. So you just look for a mix, something that looks interesting. And I'm going to come back in here probably when it's all dry with pen and really make the point. No pun intended. Okay. I have a terrible habit, and I know some other artists who do the same thing, of brushing my brush off on my pants leg. And, you know, I don't have to have a professional wardrobe anymore, so that's exactly what I do. If I want, I'm gonna pull that down in there. If I want to have my pants paint stained, then by all means, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Because like I said, it doesn't matter for me anymore, so, you know. But you're, of course, able to use a paper towel or whatever you want. Most people probably don't want to use their clothes, but for me, I don't really care, so I do it. Okay. I was gonna try and have the river creek thing going all the way down there, but I don't think I do. I don't think I'm gonna do that. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to add some light to the side of the tree. Do that on all my trees here. That's just a little bit too harsh on that one, so yeah. Actually, it's a little too harsh on all of them, I think. So I'm just gonna blend it out just a little bit. And then we'll do over here. I'm gonna add a little bit more of the titanium white. And it's perfectly fine to fill the wells of your palette with watercolor paint and let it dry, because the water will reactivate it. So it's always a nice thing. And here, this will show up a little bit better because this has got much less water in it. So all right. And yeah, I'm just going around here, just putting strokes wherever I feel like it. And it's totally whatever you want to do in your picture. It's perfectly fine. And if you mess it up, well, you messed it up, but you learned something probably. And that's why it's always good. I watch lots of video tutorials to try and help me learn things I may not know, get ideas, all kinds of things. So yeah, I'm a big fan of learning. Of course, I'm a big fan of learning. I was a professor. All right, I'm gonna let that. No, actually, I think it's dry enough. So now I'm gonna come in here with my pen, and I'm gonna choose a smallish pen. This one is a 003, and it's the Artex Aus. So, and I got these from Amazon. And now I'm just gonna come in here and really just begin to define that water bank. I'm gonna go with a slightly larger pen. Yeah, okay. Yeah, instead of a 003, this is a 03. So, yeah. Because otherwise I feel like I might have been doing that for the rest of my life. And I'm literally just doing very abstract lines here, just to give it some definition. Because like I said, I'm not trying to make anything too perfect. I'm gonna bring that up just a little bit. And yeah, I'll do that a little bit over here. Not quite as much, because remember, this is the side that's getting more light. Did I make it better? I don't know. Did I ruin it? Maybe. But the beauty of what I'm doing is, you know, I give myself permission to make mistakes. And that's that's a form of kindness to yourself. If you allow yourself to make mistakes, you're not going to be perfect. And thankfully, you're not going to be perfect, because if you were perfect, how incredibly boring would that be? You know, if we were all perfect. Now that is a little too wet to still work. But, you know, it gives you some ideas for things to try here. You know, and if I want, I can put up little things sticking out. And I don't have a white pen. It would be nice if I had a white pen. But I can use a small brush. But I find that doing a little bit of grass or something like that can help make something look a little bit more realistic, especially if I'm using loose lines like this, you know. Yeah, and I'll come in here and do a little bit of a definition around. Yeah, see how it's not wanting to do its thing? That's because it's too wet, and I'm trying too hard to go against time. So it'll work. Yeah, see, and that's what happens, is it'll stop working altogether if it's too wet, because you get the paint stuck. And I'm trying to do lines that are more irregular. So I took something that was a mess and made it, yeah, still a mess. But the point is, I'm actually having some fun right now. So that, to me, is the entire point of what I'm doing. I'm here to make things feel better at stroke by stroke. So, see, and I come in here and make some blue. Just to give it a little bit more interest. There's my dog. She's probably gonna start whining. She almost always needs something. Because imagine having, and she is a very energetic puppy dog. Yep, here comes the whining. And Walter is also, it's getting very loud in here suddenly. Anyway, when I got this dog, she was a little puppy and I was perfectly healthy. And I got her, she was born in 2020. So, and I got sick. I got COVID in 2022. I would never have adopted her, this, you know, just because she is so energetic, if I was sick. But I wasn't expecting really to get sick. Of course, most people don't, so. I hear you, Mags. Just coming in here, and I'm just blurring these lines a little bit. And I think I am discovering that this ink may not be waterproof. I thought it was, but it's okay if it isn't. It's alright with me. Because I'm not married to the outcome. Hi, puppy dog. How you doing? Are you here to help? Yeah. Is that what you're here for? Yes, I have quite the helper right now. Okay. So I'm going to take my dog out and let this dry a little bit, and then I will be back with you. Okay, so the dog has been taken out. Of course, she didn't do anything, so she may want to go back out here in 2 minutes, because God forbid a neighbor came home. Oh, good Lord. But this has dried a little bit, so I'm just going to come in here and just add just a few little lines like I was. Now, this is when I need to be careful, because it would be so easy. Look how I was getting everything almost even, that is the best way to make a really boring picture. So try and make sure that you are varying your strokes and so on and so forth. Now I'll come back over this in a minute and add more. More gouache. I'm just making suggestions of lines. And I haven't done this before, so we're all kind of experimenting together, I guess. It may end up looking terrible, I don't know, but the goal is to try and make something out of nothing. Not that it was nothing, it was just, it didn't look finished to me, but it was perfectly fine for what it was. And for a way for me to make my emotions better, it was perfect. So, all right. So there's that. And now I'm going to come back in with a small brush. And this is a my smallest one. This is a 1. And I'm going to just add in some gouache to kind of cut that down just a little bit so it's not quite so in your face. Breaking up the harshness of those lines a bit. And yes, it is picking up the ink. So these are not waterproof markers. I didn't really pay attention, and actually that's kind of cool because I can use that to my advantage now, knowing that, you know, even though I don't usually shade using black, I can kind of muddy this up a little bit though, and yeah. And I think that looks better personally, but it's my opinion and it's my painting, so my opinion matters in my painting. Just like your opinion matters in your painting. And it's really just a good way to learn too, you know, so. Yeah. I'm going to go back up to a slightly larger brush, back to my 7. And just come in here. Like I said, knock those lines down a little bit. I added just a little bit of blue. So. Okay. So, I'm relatively happy with that. And the last thing that I am going to do to this is I'm just going to flick some gouache on, and I will use my large brush for this. And yeah, this will just give an illusion of snow. I was a little too close there, but it's all right. It's a lot of snow. And since it's my world, I can have big snowflakes if I want them. Yeah, I did get way too close there. Another way to do it is just flick the brush instead of tapping it like that if you want. I would like to get larger. Okay. So I'm going to add a lot more here to the, oh, that's a little too wet. See, that's the other thing. If there's too much water in the brush, it will get very sloppy. But I'm doing it this way. See how I'm getting the lines that arc? This way it breaks it up a little bit more. Also hurts my finger if I do it too hard. So, okay. Once this is dried, I will do some close-up stuff on this, and you'll be able to see up close. So this has been Stroke by Stroke. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial, and I will talk to you next time. And I had a thought as I was doing the zoom around the picture when it was finished, and I'm going to add a moon because I feel like that would really sort of set this piece. And what I'm going to use is, I have, these are pearl paint sets, and once again I got these from Amazon, and I'm just going to add a moon to this, and now I just need to figure out what color I want my moon to be, and I'm going to go with this color right here. Okay, and I'm going to, where do I want my moon? I want the moon right here. And it's going to take a few layers to really get in there, but as I was looking at it, it just didn't feel finished to me. And I think this will make this feel more finished. Okay, so there's that, and now I'm going to just add little bits of that in here just to kind of tie it all together. Switch to my other hand. Oops. And then I'll add just a little bit here. This is kind of a peach color, sort of. I don't know. It's warm. I like warm tones. So I just wanted to warm this up a little bit, and I feel like this will actually move the image to a more finished feel for myself. So, yeah. Okay. And then when that dries, I will show it shimmering. Yeah, I'm going to show you here. This is how, and I've not taken, oh good, it's going to come right off. Well, see right there, see how it actually took a little bit of the paper off. That's the problem with using just plain old masking tape. Is the gum is a little too harsh and will sometimes take off the paper. And it did a little bit. But once again, I'm not going for complete perfection here. Ouch. And I also didn't use a hair dryer on this for any reason, because I didn't want for the gum to get too sticky. You can see where it bled a little bit there on this part, and it's really taking the surface of the paint off right there. And so I will try to use a little bit of gouache and see if I can cover that a little bit, make it not quite so obvious. Yeah, I don't know if it worked or not. I have to wait for it to dry. Okay, actually I think that's going to work a little bit. And I'll go ahead and sign my piece. I think it's dry enough for that now. $20.26. That's the first time I've done that one. So, okay, and I don't know. Yeah, there you go. There you can see the shine. All right, well, if you stuck with me throughout this painting, I appreciate it. And like I said, it's not exactly a masterpiece, but it's a lot better than it was. So I'm signing off finally from Stroke by Stroke, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day. I'll see you later.